I remember when I lost my mind.
Hi guys, it's me again, Miss Twillie. I just wanted to go over the interpersonal conflict paper. So maybe I've said it, it's called interpersonal paper. Maybe you've heard it called the conflict paper. Maybe you've seen it as ESC number 3. This is the interpersonal conflict paper. And I'm reading from page 31 in the course manual. So this paper is going to be surrounding or about a current or past relationship. The relationship can be a romantic relationship, a family relationship, a friendship, a relationship with a coworker, a mentoring relationship, or any relationship that qualifies as an interpersonal relationship and has or is currently experiencing conflict. So, this cannot be an imaginary person. This cannot be Beyonce. This cannot be your relationship with God. This cannot be your relationship with a pet. This is about a real person that you've had a conflict with and a relationship with as an adult. This cannot be from your childhood. Okay? So here's the requirements. Paper must focus on an interpersonal relationship, a human being. Relationship must be with a person who exists. Okay? Falsifying a relationship is academic dishonesty. All right, it needs to be at least 6 to 8 pages. You're going to have cited pages from the textbook and course manual. This is written in essay format. You're going to use headings. It's going to be double spaced. Heading in the upper left corner will be your name, date, speech 1300, the section in which you're enrolled in, my name, Miss Twillie, the assignment title, and of course your academic integrity statement, which will say, by submitting this assignment, I acknowledge all work to be my own. This paper will be APA cited, okay, and it's going to have in-text and a reference page. This says stapled, but obviously this is an online course, so it's going to be submitted where it should be submitted on Blackboard. It is not going to be emailed to me. Make sure it is submitted on Blackboard. So let's talk about the format. This is a pretty complicated paper. Don't be afraid. Don't get scared. You just need to break it into little chunks that you can do. Okay? So the first thing you need to do, or no, it says 5-part introduction paragraph. This paper requires an introduction. So you're going to do what you do when you do a speech is you're going to have an attention getter. So you're going to have something that catches my attention. Here are the things I require in the introduction paragraph. You're going to say something that's going to get my attention. You're going to have a thesis, what you're going to talk about, and you're going to have a preview. Okay, this paper will do X, Y, Z. Okay, that's what I require. The next section will be the case background. The heading for this section will be case background. So you've already turned in your case background on Blackboard, and so I will be looking at those and giving you feedback. So basically, that's what's going to be in that section. You've already written that section. So this is going to be your case background. You're going to introduce your case study by describing your relationship, which you've already should have done. So you're answering the questions. How did the relationship begin? What is the current state of the relationship? Describe the conflict. So think back to your positive communication video where I had you be very specific about what was going on. So I want you to really be specific about that conflict. What was said? Where was it said? What happened? You know, what did you feel like? Those types of things. What sort of emotions, you know, what did you want to do and what did you do? Or what did you actually do? So be very specific about what happened. Okay? The next part is theoretical grounding. That will be your heading. Theoretical grounding. Okay? So what you're going to do here is you're going to give me 3 civil and ethical communication implications. So remember in my other video, that's going to be, you know, trustworthiness, responsibility, restraint. Those, you're going to pick 3 of those for this section. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to define each of those implications. You're going to give me a citation. So once you give that definition, you have to give a citation. So think about like this. You did not make up these ethical implications. They have to come from somewhere, and that's what the in-text citation will be. you're going to be telling me where you got this information. And we will cover APA citations. Please do not freak out. Okay. Then you're going to give me an example of this implication. This is going to be separate from your your background case. Let me say that again. The example you give me in this section will be separate from the story you told me in the case background. Okay, so it has to be just, here's an example of trustworthiness. You just give an example. Maybe it's from a different relationship, whatever. What does it look like? That's all you're doing. Okay, and that's what you're going to do for that first part of part 2. Then you're going to identify 3 relevant and meaningful communication concepts. This is from the textbook. Okay, those concepts are the pink words. Remember that? So you're going to pick relevant and meaningful. Do not just pick random. Okay, pick concepts that actually apply or will apply to your case. Once again, you're going to identify each concept, you're going to define them, and you're going to provide the in-text citation from the textbook. So you're going to tell me where you got that definition. That's really all it means. Okay? And then you're going to provide an example, once again, separate from your case background. This will not be the same from the same story that you gave. So once again, you're going to tell me what that concept looks like, just using an example, just to show me that you have synthesized that definition. Okay? That is part 2. Moving to part 3, case analysis. Case analysis is going to be your heading, so you're going to write case analysis. And then you're going to give examples of the ethical dilemmas from the relationship that illustrate the civil and ethical communication implications you identified in part 2. So remember those ethical implications: trustworthiness, responsibility, caring with grace. Remember, you identified those and you gave examples. Now you're going to tell me how those are ethical dilemmas, or how you use them as an ethical dilemma. So let's say you chose restraint, and you are talking about an argument that you got into with your girlfriend. You could say, when she said XYZ, I did not show restraint because I let her have it and I said XYZ back. Okay? Or maybe you did show restraint. So maybe somebody did something to you and then you showed restraint by not retaliating. Okay? That would be the tension. So you're getting at the actual dilemma. What caused the tension and how did you react? Okay? So maybe and you had a conflict where you lied. Okay? So maybe you chose trustworthiness, and so you actually lied because you wanted to save your butt. And so you can say, I did not show trustworthiness, and that's how this applies. Okay? You're going to explain what makes each example an ethical dilemma. So what I just talked about. So this was your reaction. How was that an ethical dilemma? Did you choose the positive or to use the negative? That's where you have to be really honest. We have a tendency to remember things as us doing everything perfect, and that's not always the case. And you're not going to get anything out of this paper if you only shine, the light of examination on the other person. Okay? So you're going to do those, and then you're going to use your 3 applicable communication concepts. Okay? So remember the communication concepts that you chose. You're going to do those, and you're going to answer these questions. What does each concept look like in the relationship? So if you chose, and hopefully you don't choose nonverbal, because I'm so tired of hearing about nonverbal communication. Okay, can we be creative? So let's say you chose nonverbal. What did the nonverbals look like in that relationship? And I'm not saying if nonverbal is the best communication concept for what you want to talk about, by all means, please use it. But make sure you answer that question. So whatever concept that you use or you picked from the textbook, what did that look like in the relationship? And then you're going to answer this question: how does each concept contribute to the conflict in the relationship? Sorry, that's my dogs. So you're going to use descriptive examples to make sense of the communication in your case. So this is when you're tying back to your case background. Now, here's really what's really important in this section, part 3. Please do not introduce more information. So there should be enough information in that case background that you should be able to pick from that case background and go, this, when I talked about this is my example for this. So part 4, this is going to be the recommendations. So you're going to make 2 recommendations for yourself and 1 recommendation for the person that you had the conflict. So you're going to identify 2 new communication concepts. So you need to pick 2 more pink words out of this textbook. And you're going to use, and they could be something that you could use to improve your communication, not the other person's, your communication. Once again, you're going to define that concept, and then you can provide an in-text citation using APA format for each concept. So define and cite. Then you're going to describe how you could use each in your relationship. Explain why each concept might work to improve the relationship. You're going to make 1 recommendation for the other person. Once again, 1 new communication concept, 1 new pink word, and then you're going to, once again, define it and then cite it, and then describe how the other person can use that concept in your relationship. Explain why this specific concept might work to positively improve the relationship. Part 5, assignment reflection. That will be your heading for this section. Label this section, obviously, reflection. You're going to identify the 2 RUALAR foundational communication principles that illustrate how analyzing this relationship has influenced your perception of the role of communication in interpersonal relationships. For example, communication is irreversible. It is a bell that cannot be unrung. Once somebody says something, you can't take it back. So think about that. So maybe you had an argument where you said something really awful to someone, and then forever that person can't forget it. Or has that ever been said to you? Maybe they said something to you that they just can't take back. So that would be an example of how you change that your perception, and you go and you think, I'm much more mindful of the things I say, even in anger, because I don't want the things I say to be a bell that cannot be unrung. Okay? And then and then finally the conclusion paragraph. So this paper needs an introduction and a conclusion. So when you write your conclusion, I want you to think about that introduction. Think about that attention getter, and I want you to think about that thesis in your preview. So you can use that thesis and say, today I told you about my relationship with XYZ, and then you can talk about that preview, but put it in past tense. I told you about this, this, and this. And then you want to connect it back to your attention getter, something that kind of ties your paper all together. And then that's your paper. One thing I want you to be really, really mindful of is follow this outline. If you put things in different order and I spend 2 hours trying to figure out what's what, I'm going to hand your paper back to you. So please follow this order. These are very complex papers, and I want you to use this format. Make sure you have your headings so I know where I'm at in your paper, and make sure that you use your APA citations. If you have any questions, as always, please shoot me an email and I'll be happy to help you out.